Okay, and another thing that I wanted to mention is adding width to our signal. So right now, as it stands, our vocal is a mono signal. You can see this by this icon here at the bottom right. And if I mute, and let's mute the reverb here. And as you remember from the basic tutorial, I mentioned this stereo width control, and this control only really works on stereo signals. So even if I turn this all the way to the left and I seemingly add separation to my signal,
digging down underneath.
it absolutely adds no difference. There's absolutely no difference in our signal because it only works on stereo signals. So to create a stereo effect and to actually add width to our vocal, we can use a really short stereo delay. And I prefer this method over some other artificial stereo width methods because it doesn't add as much phasing issues into our signal. So when we add a stereo to our signal, when we collapse the signal back into mono, what happens is there's all these conflicting frequencies that happen between the left and right channel. And when they're smushed back into the mono signal, they start to compete and cancel each other out. So I'm just going to show it to you as an example. There's a Fruity Stereo Enhancer plugin that we can use to demonstrate this. So if I load this Fruity Stereo Enhancer, and if I, let's say, go to a preset on it for strings, sure.
Digging down underneath.
You can hear that it's added width to our signal. It did actually make it wider, but if I do a mono test on this, so if I collapse our signal down to mono on the master channel,
digging down underneath.
it added quite a bit of phasing issues here, and it creates a lot of problems with the gain and volume actually in the signal. And if I disable this,
Digging down.
this is our original vocal.
Underneath.
And if I enable this enhancer, and again, we're listening in mono because I collapsed the master down to mono.
Digging down. Digging down. Digging down.
You hear how much the stereo effect added so much phasing problems, and it actually made our vocal much quieter too. So what happens is if you're mixing with this stereo enhancer and you collapse your mix and all your instruments down to mono, what happens if you play it back on a mono speaker or on a cell phone or anything that would collapse your signal down to just a single center channel? It will cause a lot of issues. So when we use this delay trick, it actually doesn't cause as many issues with our phasing, and we can even clean it up even more to eliminate this further. So I'm just gonna turn this back into a stereo. I'm gonna remove this stereo enhancer from our channel here, from our insert. And let's set up yet another send from our original insert to our insert 4. So I'm going to set up the sidechain to insert 4. I'm going to rename this our vocal width. And I'm going to send it to our vocal width now. So now we have this send from here into our vocal width insert. And so on this width insert, I'm going to place a fruity delay. And let's hear this.
Digging down.
So right now it's just a mono delay and it's just a repeating signal. And what I'm interested in is in a very short feedback, which means that I'm just only interested in one copy of this delay. I don't want a bunch of additional copies. So right now we're getting a lot of repetition in the delay, and I'm just interested in one copy. I'm going to turn this all the way down. So our feedback is only 1. So we're only getting one copy of our delay. And so I'm going to turn the dry completely down because we have a separate control for the dry. And now we're gonna spread this delay in the stereo field. So we're gonna make a wide copy of our signal. And we use this stereo offset knob to make sure that the delay model is set to stereo or ping pong. Stereo is probably useful just for adding width. And now I'm gonna create a stereo offset between the left and the right speaker.
Digging down.
And as you can hear, it's already wide bouncing sort of delay effect in our speakers. But we don't want a delay effect, we want a stereo width effect. Which means that I need to turn this time control to be really short. So if I turn this down to be too short, it will sound like a phaser or a flanger.
Digging down underneath.
And what I want to do is I want to make it just short enough that it goes in from this flanger effect into this stereo delay effect.
Digging down.
And if we click the keep pitch, it's not going to fluctuate as we adjust this. It's not going to fluctuate the pitch of our vocal as we adjust the time control.
Digging down underneath and gently whispering.
So now you can hear how much width we added with this delay trick. So if I turn this down,
Digging down underneath
and I'm going to slowly bring this up.
and gently whispering. Release a sound.
You can hear how much wider our vocal sounds already. And if we do a mono test and collapse this down to mono.
Digging down underneath and gently whispering.
We can hear that it's not actually causing much of a phasing issue, and we can even clean this up even further. So we have this filter on the feedback that we can set to high pass to clean up the low end. So I'm just going to mute the original vocal and I will just listen to the width effect here.
Digging down underneath and gently whispering.
I'm going to cut some of the lows out of this delay because the width of the signal is actually heard more in the high frequencies, and the low frequencies we try to keep closer to the center to keep more power in the low end. And the high frequencies we can spread wider, and that way it gives us more of an impression of a wider channel. So let's listen to this together now.
Digging down underneath and gently whispering.
And without.
Digging down
and with.
Digging down underneath.
Let's do a mono test again. Let's collapse the master back to mono.
Digging down underneath and gently whispering.
And it's not causing any of the phasing issues at our master in the mono channel. And so these are just a few tricks, a few techniques that you can use in your mix